You are not here today to learn how to stop feeling it, as if it were an enemy to be fought. You are here to perform a cold, meticulous autopsy upon it, to dissect it under the harshest of lights, to expose its fraudulent origins with such blinding clarity that it dissolves into the nothingness from which it was spawned. We are not here to erase the feeling. We are here to expose the con artist who planted it in your heart. To understand this phantom guilt, we must first dissect the diabolical genius of its creation. It was not an accident. It was engineered. The narcissist, with the predatory instinct of a parasite, identified your greatest virtues and systematically inverted them into the very instruments of your subjugation. Your empathy, that beautiful luminous quality that allows you to feel for others, was the primary target. It was identified, isolated, and then weaponized against you. From the very beginning, you were conditioned to be the emotional caretaker of a black hole, the sole regulator for their chaotic inner state. You were made responsible for their moods, their happiness, their failures, their very sense of self. When they were happy, it was because you were a good source of supply. When they were miserable, it was presented, subtly or overtly, as your fault. You were trained, day after day, to carry the weight of their emotional world. Now that you have left, your empathetic soul continues to run this defunct program. You feel guilty because you have been conditioned to believe that their pain, their rage, their loneliness, their narcissistic injury at being abandoned is your responsibility to manage. You feel the same pang of guilt a devoted nurse might feel for leaving the bedside of a patient who was actively poisoning them. Secondly, you were likely cast not in the role of a partner, but in the role of a savior. The narcissist presented you with the irresistible narrative of a deeply wounded, misunderstood soul, a tragic hero whom only your unique love and patience could possibly heal. Your departure, therefore, feels not like an act of self-preservation, but like an act of ultimate betrayal. You feel guilty because you are abandoning your sacred mission to fix them. You must see the brutal truth. This mission was a scam. They never wanted to be healed. They wanted a lifelong, unpaid, 24/7 caretaker for their pathology. Your guilt is the lament of a rescuer realizing the person they were trying to save was not drowning, but was, in fact, the anchor trying to pull them to the bottom of the sea. Furthermore, this feeling you call guilt is the most potent and painful withdrawal symptom of a trauma bond. This was not love. Love is a garden. This was a war zone with intermittent ceasefires. A trauma bond is a powerful, addictive connection, forged not through mutual respect and affection, but through intense cycles of abuse and intermittent reward. It is the Stockholm Syndrome of the soul, the moments of love bombing, the fleeting kindnesses, the crocodile tears. These were not evidence of their love. They were calculated doses of a drug administered to keep you addicted, to keep you hoping, to keep you tied to the source of your pain. Breaking this bond creates a neurochemical chaos in your brain and body that feels identical to profound grief and guilt. You feel as though you have betrayed a deep and meaningful connection because the intensity of the bond masqueraded as intimacy. Your guilt is not an indicator of your wrongdoing. It is the shriek of an addiction being starved. It is the pain of your body detoxing from a poison you had mistaken for nourishment. Compounding this is the ghost of the abuser that they have successfully installed within your own mind. The narcissist may be physically gone, but their voice remains. A cruel ventriloquist's dummy that now speaks with your own inner voice. This is the internalized abuser. It repeats their criticisms, their judgments, their narrative. It whispers to you in your quietest moments. You were the selfish one. You weren't patient enough. You abandoned them when they needed you most. You are the bad guy. This internal voice is reinforced by the memory of their smear campaign. the lies they told the world about you, which you, on some level, began to believe yourself. The guilt you feel is the echo of you agreeing with their propaganda, the final surrender to their distorted reality. Therefore, the path to liberating yourself from this phantom guilt is not through fighting, denial, or self-flagellation. It is through a radical act of conscious, unwavering awareness. You must become a silent, detached, and forensic observer of this feeling when it arises. You must learn to witness its arrival without becoming its victim. When the wave of guilt washes over you, when your stomach clenches and your heart aches with the feeling that you have done something terrible, you must not say to yourself, "I feel guilty." That is an act of identification. It is agreeing that the feeling is a legitimate part of you. Corporate asset management. You were not a partner. You were a resource. You were not a lover. You were a project. And the discard is not a tragedy for them. It is the project's completion, the closing of a file, the final signature on a successful acquisition and liquidation. The entire relationship was a mining operation, and your soul was the territory. They came, they surveyed, they drilled, they extracted every ounce of precious ore, your love, your empathy, your energy, your sanity, and when the mine was stripped, when the cost of extraction began to outweigh the profit, they simply packed up their equipment, detonated the entrance to seal you in, and moved on to the next untouched landscape. The chilling, brutal truth is that their departure is not a rejection of you. It is a testament to their efficiency. The discard is the ultimate sign that, from their predatory perspective, their work with you is done. Let us dissect the cold, hard triggers for this final act of disposal, for it is never a spontaneous event, but a calculated decision based on a ruthless cost-benefit analysis. The primary catalyst, the most common reason, is that you have simply been depleted. You, the once vibrant, inexhaustible source of narcissistic supply, have run dry. Your capacity for adoration is exhausted. Your emotional reactions, which once were a potent drug, have become predictable and weak. Your anger no longer provides the same thrill. Your tears no longer offer the same satisfying confirmation of their power. You are emotionally anemic, spiritually bankrupt, a ghost haunting the halls of the life they plundered. You have become, in their cold eyes, boring. A depleted mine offers no profit, and a boring toy is no longer fun. Simultaneously, and almost always preceding the discard, they have secured a new superior source of supply. The narcissist is a perpetual, insatiable consumer, forever window shopping for their next acquisition. They do not leave one host until a new, more promising host has been identified and groomed. This new person offers the intoxicating, high-grade fuel that you can no longer provide. The thrill of the hunt, the high of the initial conquest, the boundless admiration of someone who has not yet seen the mask slip. They will be in the midst of love-bombing this new target while they are still in the final stages of devaluing you, running two operations in parallel with the detached efficiency of a logistics manager. Your discard is timed precisely for the moment the new asset is fully secured. But perhaps the most dangerous trigger for the discard is when you, the victim, begin to awaken. You start setting boundaries. You begin to question their narrative. You hold up a mirror that no longer reflects their grandiose image, but instead shows a flicker of their true, flawed self. You stop apologizing. You say no. A boundary, to a narcissist, is not a request for respect. It is a declaration of war. It is an act of rebellion that signals you are no longer a compliant object, but a sovereign entity. This is an existential threat. A tool that develops a will of its own is defective and dangerous. It must be disposed of before it can expose the user's fraudulence. Your emerging health is perceived as a terminal sickness in the relationship dynamic. Your sanity is a threat to their insanity. In this moment, They must discard you, not just because you are no longer useful, but because you have become a liability, a witness who knows too much. And finally, they discard you out of pure, unadulterated contempt. As they have devalued and broken you, they have come to despise you for the very weakness they have engineered. They look at you, the trembling, confused, heartbroken shell of the person you once were, and they are filled not with pity, but with disgust. They hate you for allowing them to do this to you. Your broken state is a nauseating reflection of their own abusive nature, and they must get away from that reflection at all costs. They break the mirror, and then blame it for being shattered. The mechanics of the discard itself are a masterclass in psychological terrorism, designed to inflict maximum damage and ensure their own clean getaway. It will almost always be abrupt, cold, and devoid of closure. This is deliberate. You will be ghosted, blocked on all platforms, or sent a single, chillingly indifferent text message. They vanish from your life as if they were a phantom who was never really there. This sudden amputation serves a critical purpose. It denies you a final confrontation. It prevents you from asking questions, from presenting evidence, from demanding accountability. Closure requires empathy, respect, and a shared reality. Three things the narcissist is incapable of offering. The silence, the vanishing act, is their final triumphant assertion of power and control. It leaves you suspended in a state of agonizing confusion, endlessly replaying the final days and weeks, torturing yourself with the question, what did I do wrong? This is their parting gift to you, a prison of unanswered questions that keeps you psychically tethered to them long after they are gone.